Shalom. Let's start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Harakah Kadash, double honors to the apostles and Ezra Millstone, citations to the Ophelet, that's pushing this truth across four corners of the earth in all faith, truth, and sincerity. This I'm gonna want to buy back giving us sitting. This we'll go into real quick. Not gonna make this too long. Just about, in the times now going forward, how a lot of people, a lot of people, in the world and here in America, Babylon the Great, but mainly here in America, Babylon the Great. There's gonna be a lot of people, that's gonna be dying, Yahweh Bashem Shah is gonna bring his wrath of judgment upon this place, America, Babylon the Great, and his wicked world is ran by the so-called white people, red Edomite devils, and excuse me, not saying these times now going forward, that's what it is. There's gonna be a lot of people just dying, people that it's that's how serious the times now going forward is gonna be. And like I said, the only ones that are gonna escape the rapid judgments of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is the elect of the so-called Negro, Latino natives, which are the Israelites. Hopefully, Empire Righteous number 2 escape the rapid judgments of the Lord Yahushua. But I'm gonna get into it. 2 Ezra 5:1. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come that which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren faith. So that's what's gonna come about. There's gonna be a lot of people, like I said, gonna be dying. By the all hell breaking loose here in America, Babylon the Great. And the wrath and judgment that Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah is gonna bring upon this place. A lot of people just gonna be caught off guard. By the judgments of Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah. Judgment's going out now in these times, but as like I said, it's going to increase. It's going to get real, real bad. Like I said, a lot of people are just going to be out here just, dying, getting put to death. They say passing away. But only the elect. I said, only if you're the elect, the Lord Yahushua is going to have mercy upon you. But everybody else that's not a part of that righteous number of the elect, that's gonna be taken, in great judgment by the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. And the way of truth shall be hidden. It's gonna come a time where the apostles and the elders and the elders of Brother Great Millstone that's teaching the truth of the Lord Yahweh Yahushua. It's gonna come a time where this word, Lord Yahweh Shah, gonna take away his word, his truth. That the apostles and the elders and the elders of Brother and Great Millstone that teach the word Lord Yahweh Shah, on the street corners or on the internet. Famine of the word, right? Or hearing the word Lord, this truth. Lord Yahweh Shah is gonna come a time gonna take away, this truth. Once that comes about, it's it's over with. Just get ready for all chaos and hell to break loose in America, Babylon the Great. Once that happens, once Lord Yahushua remove his prophets, the men of the Lord that's on the highways, byways, on the internet, the men of the Lord Great Millstone, this truth that's on the internet, it's over with. And the land shall be barren faith. So. There's gonna be men, that's gonna have faith and believe in Lord Yahweh Shai. That's the elect. But a lot of I know a lot of people, you know, their faith is they're gonna fold. Their faith is gonna, you know, not be strong when things get, really really bad out here. It's bad, and it's bad, but it's not as bad as it's gonna get going forward, because how bad it's gonna get is gonna be like me myself first and foremost. My faith and those that believe in Lord Yahweh Shai's gotta be high, like crazy high level faith. But like I say, if you're the elect, you're gonna have it. You're gonna have that high crazy level of faith. Lord Yahweh Shai, gonna strengthen the elect any times they're going forward in their faith. The Lord gonna give you a jolt of, of extreme faith, out of nowhere. Like, just, it's gonna come, like, it's just gonna be something that, it's gonna hit, in the spirit. Like, it's gonna increase. You're gonna increase in the faith of Lord Yahweh Shai. It's not gonna decrease when things, get out of, get crazy, whatever. Things just, get crazy here in America, Babylon Great, in the world, in this world. But that's if you're the elect, Lord Yahweh Shai. He's gonna, give you a jolt of, spiritual. Let's say spiritual power. Give you that, a jolt of faith. An extra jolt of faith, extra strength, strengthen you. Excuse me. Strengthen your faith. Right, go strengthen your faith more when things just, it'll get chaotic, and so forth in this world. But like I say, everybody else is not gonna get that. Everybody else ain't gonna have that. Get strengthened by the Lord Yahweh Shai. Like I say, if you ain't the elect, you're not gonna, it's not gonna happen. If you didn't really believe in Lord Yahweh Shai and His truth, then it ain't gonna happen. If you're not of that number, it's not gonna happen. You're just gonna have to deal with the judgments that's gonna, that you have to deal with. That's appointed, unto you, those that, that's not of the righteous number of the elect. 2/3 of Israelites, they're gonna have to deal with those, judgments that gonna come upon them by Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. But I'm gonna go to Ecclesiastes, because I did not want to make this too long. Oh man, hold up. No. Hold on. So this is Ecclesiastes 9. I don't know, I was thinking about Ecclesiastes. This is Ecclesiastes 9 and 12. Ecclesiastes 9 and 12. For a man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in the evil time, when it followeth suddenly upon them. So hey, when I say we in those times, like I said, a lot of so-called Negro, Latino, Israelites gonna be, caught up in these bad times. Gonna be caught up in these, these snares and traps, and and just, Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai, the judgments come upon them, when they not expecting it. Like I say, everything could be going well, good, and then boom, right? Judgment, that's how it's gonna be for a lot of people here in America, Babylon the Great. They think everything gonna be okay, when it's not. What's ahead for America, Babylon the Great? Nothing but great death and destruction. That's gonna come by Yahweh Bashan Shai. It's gonna be Yahweh Bashan Shai. It's gonna be Yahweh Bashan Shai that's gonna bring those great judgments upon this place, America, Babylon the Great, and upon 2/3 Israelites that ain't right. So I say again, like I say, me myself or foremost, hopefully I'm probably righteous number, the Lord Yahweh Shai have mercy upon me. But that's how serious it is now going forward. So I didn't want to make it too long. Lord willing, hope this was edifying. So again, I like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua Bahashem Kakadash. Bahashim Harakakadash. To the apostle elders, to the Sisakan brothers, to the Fiakwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith in Yahushua, keep fighting that shit. Shalom.